Good afternoon. This is a hearing of the Chatham Conservation Commission being held on February 26, 2025, in accordance with the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act and the Town of Chatham Wetlands Protection Bylaw and Regulations. My name is Karen Latin, and I serve as the chair. Today's hearing is being broadcast live on Xfinity Channel 1072 and is being recorded for the on-demand archives available on the town's website. It's being conducted in person, by phone, and by video conference. The agenda, instructions on how to attend, and copies of documents for review are posted on the town's website. To all participants, whether attending by phone or online, please remain muted unless you've been recognized by the chair. When recognized, please identify yourself for the record. If you're attending by phone, you can mute and unmute by using *6. If you're online and you are not a commissioner, please keep your camera turned off unless you've been recognized. Indicate that you wish to speak by using the raised hand feature. So that we have a record of a quorum, I will now ask each commissioner to indicate their presence. Vice Chair Elise Gordon.
Present.
Janet Williams.
Present.
Cheryl Meservey.
Present.
Eric Hilbert.
Present.
Bob Delvecchio is not here. Paul Johnson.
Present.
And I'm here, so we've established we have a quorum. Before we begin the agenda, Paul, are there any announcements about any requests for continuances today?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good afternoon, Commissioners. Yes, we have a request for continuance for 44 Waterview Circle to March 5th, 2025. And one is in order, and that's been 36 Dune Drive, and that's a request to continue to March 26th.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
At this point, Paul, our conservation agent, will now lead us through the agenda.
Thank you, Madam Chair. First on the agenda is a request for an order of conditions, 170 Vineyard Avenue, David Briggs, map 10D, parcel 4-D114, DEP number SE10 3703. The project is proposed raise and replacement of a single-family dwelling.
Thank you. All right. Yes. Okay, who would like to speak to 170?
I just have a quick question.
Go ahead.
In the very beginning where it says project and mitigation description, partway through the paragraph, it says the proposed and the existing septic system will be pumped, crushed, and removed from the site. Is it the proposed and the existing, or should you say the existing septic system?
The existing, you're right. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks.
Okay. Anna, go ahead. Did you have an opportunity to read it?
Yes, I've had an opportunity to read it. For the record, Hannah Raditz, wetland scientist with BSC. We don't have any questions or revisions to offer except for one item, which I believe is on, all the page numbers are the same. They're all 11-0, but it's condition 8 under standard conditions. And it involves the clerk of the works. For this site, there's only a very small portion that's within the 100-foot buffer zone to BVW, which is divided from the site by a large, flat, well-vegetated area. And the only work that would be going on within this area would be some vegetation maintenance for the installation of the mitigation area, as well as the installation of the elevated stairs coming off the deck. So we were wondering if it would be possible to take this condition off to save the client a lot of money to avoid a monitor for this limited work.
And where is this? I'm not finding it. Under general conditions?
Under pre-construction.
Standard conditions,
Pre-construction.
pre-construction conditions.
Yeah, okay, pre-construction. I was in general.
So
I can share the
who would
plan view if it's
supervise and
helpful.
who would supervise the contractors?
Yeah.
Doing the work?
I believe the supervisor of the contractor would typically be someone involved with the construction work. At this point, I don't believe a construction company or contractors have been obtained for this, as construction isn't scheduled yet. So there wouldn't be one of the listed individuals with the qualifications of professional land surveyor, engineer, landscape designer, or ecological restoration professional, I believe, involved, but there could be an engineer.
But usually, I mean, if it's the supervisor, that would, I think, be the clerk of the works. So I think, that, these are generic,
Do you want to say an
So-
on-site supervisor?
well, I mean, I
It has to be
kind of,
somebody who's on-site at all the time.
Karen, I agree with you. It seems implied that the clerk of the works is whomever
Whoever's
has been
in charge.
designated to supervise each.
I guess
phase.
we could, we could add in,
Or super,
we could add in, the engineer is sort of, isn't that sort of the person who's in charge, the project manager? Maybe we could add in project manager? Paul
Site
wants to
supervisor?
comment.
Usually when we do a pre-construction, I understand what Hannah's saying. It gets pretty expensive if you make the person an engineer. So when we do a pre-construction, sometimes it's the contractor, but we always
Right.
designate somebody who's going to be in
Exactly.
charge of the job, on the job, and responsible for telling all the subcontractors what the order conditions are, and then complying with them. So
Right. So that's why I was saying whoever's in charge, I guess we could do, say, project manager?
or on-site supervisor.
Yeah, that works. Either one. I think
You know,
they're,
as designated at the pre-construction.
yeah. And I think it says as designated. Yeah, it does say. Yeah.
Approved by the
So,
commission.
at the pre-construction. So would that work, Anna? The only other
Yeah, I-
issue we have right now is you have to go before ZBA, and you haven't even applied.
Yep, I have communication from the applicant this week that they intend to apply and be heard in May. Because they haven't given me a date on what hearing they would be able to attend in May, I believe there's two. We would request a continuance to the first Conservation Commission hearing in June, which I believe is the 4th.
Yes, it is. Okay, so does anybody have any other modifications to this? At that point, we could, it would be ready to go, and on June 4th, we could just approve it as far as long as there are no changes made by ZBA. Does anybody else have anything to add to this order? All right, then if we could have a motion to continue it to the 4th
You bet.
of June.
I move that we continue 170 Vineyard Avenue to June 4th, 2025 for an order of conditions.
Second.
All right, Paul?
Aye.
Janet?
Aye.
Elise?
Aye.
Eric?
Aye.
Cheryl?
Aye.
And I say aye. Okay, thank you, Hannah.
Thank you for your time.
Okay. Paul, the
Thank
next
you,
one,
Madam Chair.
please.
Madam Chair, next on the agenda is another request for an order of conditions. The address is 36 Dune Drive. The applicant is Richard, I crush names all the time, Fuccio Jr., map 16A, parcel 10-6C, DEP number SE10-3707. The project is raise the southerly portion of the dwelling, reconstruct the portion of the dwelling with minor lateral expansion, raise the floor to meet the design flood elevations, and remove the deck and the step. And the applicant has requested a continuance to 3/26, and I think you said you were going to discuss it.
Well, I think if anybody has any changes to anything that's been written, we could update it now. Otherwise, we could just continue it to the 26th of March. Do any of you have any updates? I think, is this the one? No, maybe not. I think this is the one, Janet. Did you change something, the word T yesterday? I have updated all of them to accept all changes as of
I
today.
actually thought about that for a while. It was like,
It's done both ways, that's why. Yeah. Anybody? Cheryl, Eric? Okay, then Paul, anything? Paul J. All right, then we can have a motion to continue.
I move that we continue 36 Dune Drive to March 26, 2025 for an order of conditions.
Second.
Okay, Paul?
Aye.
Janet?
Aye.
Elise?
Aye.
Eric?
Aye.
Cheryl?
Aye.
And I say aye. Okay, next one.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Next on the agenda is another request for an order of conditions. The address is 69 Morris Island Road. The applicant is Gregory and Teresa Clark. Map 16A, parcel 5-C1, DEP number SE 103714. Project is construction of a swimming pool, walkway, reroute the existing gravel driveway, privacy fence along the driveway, and replace the existing arborvitaes, remove the basketball court, remove fenced-in garden, and they will be doing mitigation. That's the project.
Thank you. Hi, Teresa.
Hi, good afternoon. Teresa Sprague with Blue Flax Design. I only wanted to say that I've reviewed the draft order of conditions and I have no questions.
Great. Does anybody, any commissioner have any changes that need to be made? The only comment I got from ZBA was, and I just want to make sure that this is being met, I think it is. The height of the proposed fence along the driveway must be less than 6 feet from existing grade or meet the required 25-foot abutters setback. Then they said the portion of the fence that falls within the Coastal Conservancy District requires a grant of special permit, but that part's been removed. But I
That
want to
part
make
has-
sure
Yes,
that the height of the fence,
the height of the fence from grade will meet the ZBA requirement for the. grade.
Okay.
Yes,
just wanted to make sure before we did anything.
okay,
Okay,
thank you.
then I guess we're ready for a motion.
I move that we close the hearing on 69 Morris Island Road and approve the order of conditions as written.
Second.
Okay, Paul?
Aye.
Janet?
Aye.
Elise?
Aye.
Eric?
Aye.
Cheryl?
Aye.
And I say aye, so you're all set. All right, Paul, the next one.
Okay, last request for an order of conditions on the agenda to round it out is Smith Street, Town of Chatham, map various parcels, various number of parcels, not listed here. SE 103719, the project is installation of approximately 240 feet by 8-inch gravity sewer within the 50-foot buffer zone.
Okay, hey, how are you?
Good afternoon, Jeff Gregg from GHD, representing the town of Chatham. I reviewed the draft. I had a couple questions and
Okay.
had a possible request for a tweak, but I also don't want to do anything that's going to delay getting the order kind of moving forward. So I guess the first question I had was, if the contractor does the mitigation for the trees and within the time period, a tree dies or something and has to be replaced by the contractor, do they have to file something else to go back to make the replacement for that tree?
No, if you're replacing it with the same in kind.
Yes, it would be just to replace
Right.
whatever didn't survive.
As long, yeah, we understand sometimes things don't.
Okay.
So as long as it's replaced, that's fine.
The second question was, will the town need to have, are there any provisions the town needs to do for long-term maintenance of the sewer through that area? They shouldn't have to be digging it up and things like that, but I mean, I presume if they had to do something more elaborate, they would file an NOI, but if they have to do pumping or something like that where they need access to that, I just want to know if there's any other filings that they would need to do in order to do long-term maintenance on it.
Gee, nobody's ever asked us this
I hope
before.
not.
I'm hoping you don't. I would think at that time you would have to come and at least let the agent know that this is taking place, and then it could be decided at that time what the steps would be that need to happen.
Okay. The next question I had is, there's a requirement for clearing and grubbing time constraints. I think it's page 11J. It's under the site disturbance and drainage, item 2. It says clearing and grubbing shall not occur between April 1st and September 1st. And considering we're we're approaching March, and I was wondering if that April 1st could be changed to either April 15th or April 30th, just so that we can make sure that the
I
contractor
think
could
so.
get in.
Yeah, I think we should probably change it to the 30th to make sure you have that time.
They think they can get in before that, presuming that we get an order of conditions and get through the hearing purpose, or, I mean,
So we've updated that.
and then I presume that the pre-con, we just coordinate with Paul?
Yes.
And there's a form that says acknowledging the order of conditions is, I apologize, I don't do this very often, so is that just on the web? There's a statement that says, on page 11I, under the pre-construction conditions, number 7, says, "The form acknowledging understanding the orders of conditions shall be signed and given to the agent in writing before the pre-con meeting."
Paul, what,
That's just the form that we use for doing the pre-construction. It's 2 pages. Some people send it in ahead of time. Sometimes I can bring it to the site with me. I can send you one. You fill it out in advance and just put all your contact information on there, and then I'll show up and we'll do the pre-construction then.
Perfect.
All right.
Yeah, no, just want to make sure I'm hitting all these. On item, I think it's the last page, number 15, it says, "The request for a certificate of compliance shall include one or the other or both as directed by the conservation agent," but there's 3 items. So I was just wondering if that just means we either provide the written statement or the written statement and.
we added the third. It's basically, there is a form that you fill out and when you are applying for the COC, and it does require an as-built and usually photos showing the trees that you've planted and the condition of the area after you've done your work.
Okay, so we would need to, because this is a, just site grade, we're not building anything?
Right,
do you-
but you're putting in trees.
So you want a survey location of the trees?
No, you just, you provide, well, I'll
Well, 'cause,
let
I
Paul
mean-
speak to it.
I guess the reason I'm asking is because it's asking for a stamped and signed. We don't, like, when we do record drawings for the town for our things, we will initial a document that this is based on the information provided to the contractor. We don't actually have a PE stamp on it, because it's not, it's based on information provided by others. So I don't know if that will suffice. We could do that, or I was wondering if there was if we didn't necessarily have to provide that provision.
Through the chair, it depends on the project. In this particular instance, I think they could probably get away with not doing an engineered plan. We do it for landscape projects.
Exactly.
So you just certified that someone inspected the work and it was done in compliance with the order conditions, and then any deviations that might have occurred.
And then provide just photos of the
Photos,
trees
yeah.
having been planted.
Perfect. Oh, that's very helpful, thank you. And then,
Whatever happened to the handshake, right?
Yeah.
and then I guess my last question is, presuming we make these tweaks, is this something that, when might we see the final order of conditions? Just because the contractor's asking me, so I'm trying to
Right.
get them an idea of
No,
schedule.
we have made those tweaks as you've requested, and I haven't checked with the commissioners to see if they have anything to add or change. Crystal, how quickly would we be able to issue this order?
I can work on it tomorrow morning.
So, let's see, tomorrow afternoon or Friday morning?
Tomorrow afternoon.
There you go.
Perfect.
I can email them when it's ready.
Okay.
No, I really appreciate that, thank you very much.
Any commissioners have any modifications or additions to this order? Okay, then I think we're ready for a motion, please.
I move that we close the hearing on the Smith Street Sewer Project and approve the order of conditions as revised.
Second.
Paul?
Aye.
Janet?
Aye.
Elise?
Aye.
Eric?
Aye.
Cheryl?
Abstain.
And I say aye, and you're all set.
Thank you very much.
Okay, the next, Paul.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair. Now we'll move on to submitted notices of intent. The first one on the agenda is 83 Seagull Lane, 0 Tisquantum Road, and 30 Wilkes Way. The applicant is Outermost Harbor Marine, maps 15A-1, 15A-2, and 15A-3, parcels 12H98, 1N133, and US1, DEP number SE103710, and the project is proposed dredge of marina and beach nourishment of the Barrier Beach and Coastal Beach, and the applicant has requested to withdraw this application without prejudice.
Okay, Hannah, are you still on? I haven't, I gotta check.
Yep, I'm still on, just in case you all had questions.
Would you like to officially request the withdrawal, or do you want me to read your letter?
No, I can officially request the withdrawal, and the reason that that this has taken so long, when we originally filed this application, we were unaware of the Permit Extension Act signed by the governor back in November of 2024, which gives an extra 2 years to existing permits. Because there's quite a few open orders of conditions that are still valid and now have been extended, this gives us enough time to take these orders of conditions to still pursue our Chapter 91, our water quality cert, and our Army Corps application, which will be compiled into a 10-year permit. This would then extend those open orders of conditions along with the 10-year permit, as is typical for dredge projects. We do acknowledge that one order of conditions, which is, I have the number, I can look it up quickly, is going to be expiring soon, but for the rest, they are sufficient to get us through this permitting process.
Okay,
So that's the reason that we are withdrawing without prejudice.
okay, then if we could have, oh, Paul, I'm sorry.
Through
Go
the
ahead.
chair, I have a question. We did discuss, a couple of the orders make sense. You know, you can still continue to do the work. There are a few of the orders where the land doesn't exist anymore for nourishment purposes. So we were asking that you close out with a certificate of compliance, at least 3 of those, I believe, and then 2, it could be off on the numbers, but a couple would remain open, which is what you'd like, and then the rest that really the work can't be done for one reason or another, would be closed out with certificates. And we
Yep. So the first one we will address is the one that's expiring in April. That's the oldest, and it had to do with the old dredge limits for the marina. So that one we will be filing ASAP. For the emergency dredge improvement portion, we understand that that was a one-time dredge project, and so if they are going to dredge in that segment in the future, they will pursue another order of conditions, so we will close that. We're just filing for the after the fact with Chapter 91, as that was not filed after the emergency work had to occur, and the Conservation Commission was filed with, so we will close that. And then for one of the 2 orders of conditions, which sort of had overlapping work and suggested beach nourishment within a portion of the beach and sandbar that doesn't exist nearby, we will close that one, and any mention of it within that open order, we just won't be nourishing in those areas under the combined 10-year permits.
Okay, then we can have a motion, please.
I move that we accept the withdrawal of the notice of intent for 83 Seagull Lane, 0 Tisquantum Road, and 30 Wickies Way, Outermost Harbor Marine, without prejudice.
Second.
Okay, Paul?
Aye.
Janet? Elise?
Aye.
Eric?
Aye.
Cheryl?
Aye.
And I say aye, so that's approved. Thank you, Hannah.
Thank you again. I appreciate it.
Thank you,
Okay.
Hannah.
Next one, Paul.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Next on the agenda is a request for a notice of intent, 44 Waterview Circle. The applicant is Grace Delanatis, map 3C, parcel 64E-19, DEP number SE10-3705. The proposed project is construction of a deck and a sunroom within the existing footprint of a deck at the rear of the house, and the applicant's requested a continuance to March 5th, 2025.
Okay.
I move that we continue 44 Waterview Circle to March 5th, 2025.
Second?
Okay, Paul?
Aye.
Janet? Elise?
Aye.
Eric?
Aye.
Cheryl?
Aye.
And I say aye. So we're done with that one. Okay, Paul?
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair. Next on the agenda is a notice of intent application. 16 Windmill Lane is the address. Jane Chandler is the applicant, map 16A, parcel H3, DEP number SE10-3723. The project is to elevate an existing dwelling onto FEMA-compliant foundation, proposed building addition, and a new Title V subsurface sewage disposal system within land subject to coastal storm flowage.
Good afternoon, David Clark and Clark Engineering, on behalf of the Chandlers. I think Lindsay is online from Parterre, did the mitigation plan. So as stated, this is a upgrade of existing house to meet FEMA requirements. Rather than a demo rebuild, this is simply lifting it up in the same location. And while they were at it, they decided to put a small little addition to provide a little more interior space, because all the mechanical systems now have to be elevated above the floodplain also, so it provides them a little more room inside the house for hot water heaters and other things like that. This project, well, the house was before you last year or the year before for a septic upgrade. That order of conditions is still open. Either we can close that out and wrap the septic system that's part of this project into this order, or we can keep the other one open and amend that to include this septic system. It's entirely up to you. I don't care which way we go. It's probably easier just to close out the old order, since no work will be, that system will not be installed. So, as stated, we're simply lifting the house onto a FEMA compliant foundation. The entire property's in the flood zone. There is a coastal dune between the house and Chatham Harbor. Right now, the open water is quite far away. Thank you, Paul. It's quite far away from the house. It has been as less than 100 feet from the house back in '89, when this entire stretch of waterfront was exposed and eroding quite quickly. But it's all stable now, has been for 20-plus years. The dune is built back up. I don't know if this property was included in the fiber roll project. There was a number of properties from Windmill Lane to the north that were all done at the same time in the late 80s, early 90s. There might be a fiber roll array under there somewhere, but we're not working in that area other than the mitigation plantings. Because we're lifting the house, we took another look at the septic system that was already approved. The previous system was on the water side of the house. Since we're lifting the house, we thought it'd be better to tuck it around the side of the house and use that area for the leach field. We're still using an IA system as was approved before. In a past project, I think I explained the benefits of using IA. In this particular case, we've used IA to reduce the depth of groundwater, to reduce the amount of fill in the floodplain. The other option is to take a 50% reduction in the footprint of the leach field. I calculated both ways. This saves about 20 cubic yards of material as far as fill, so I figured it's better ask for the variance to, or the approval to reduction in the separation of groundwater rather than a reduction in the size of the system. Other than that, it's basically the same system that was proposed before, it's just in a different location. Small additions proposed off the south side of the house, along with reconfigured access, because the house is going to be so much higher above existing grade. This project, the mitigation portion of the project is within the priority habitat area, so this has been sent off to Natural Heritage. There was a little mix-up in the paperwork, so we didn't get a response from them yet. They have 30 days from the request of additional materials, so I don't expect a response for them for another couple of weeks, which is fine, because we still have to go to Zoning Board of Appeals on this. There's an overall decrease in site coverage within the floodplain itself. I also broke out the calculations as far as the NDZ to the dune. There is an increase in one area, but there's a larger decrease in the other area. But overall, across the whole property, within land subject to coastal storm flowage, there is a reduction in site coverage. We're proposing to reconfigure the driveway just a little bit. It's pervious now, it'll remain pervious. That's about it.
So when you say you're reconfiguring the driveway a little bit, on the plan, it doesn't show,
It's right at the entrance to the garage.
okay, you mean you're taking it away for that little addition?
Yeah, they excavated the site to get access to the garage, and if you've been out to the site,
Yeah.
I wish I had included the pictures, but there is a significant stain on the garage door as to where the normal water level is during
Yes.
storm season. So that'll all be eliminated now. The garage slab will be just a couple of tenths of a foot higher than the existing, the finished grade outside, so we'll always have, we expect this basement to flood, but at least there'll be positive drainage now. We're not entrapping water.
Great, thank you. Anybody want to start? First up, go.
So David, just following up on that, what is the existing, how deep is the existing foundation? Is it a,
It's a block foundation. It's been there since the 30s, I think. It's one of the first cottages the Horns built.
is it a full basement?
Well, somewhat.
Crawl space.
It's about a 6-foot height space
6 foot
down.
height?
Yeah, more or less. Yeah, it's about 2 feet below grade right now, all around.
What will the new one be then?
Pardon me?
What will the new one be, the new foundation?
It'll be, I think, elevation, I think elevation 5.1, so 2 feet higher than what it is now. Yeah.
So if it was about 6 feet, so it'll be about 4?
Well,
Is that right?
the top of foundation's going up too, because the first floor has to be elevated up
Right.
to elevation 15.
Oh, okay, so, but at the bottom layer will be 2 feet higher than it
Yep.
currently is off
Yep.
there. Okay, got that. And so is that, so what fill is needed then for this project?
Just a little bit to meet the grade at the new garage slab, or the entrance into the garage. And the other fill will be inside the foundation to bring that,
To bring it up?
to bring it up.
So that's the fill, the amount of fill that you're, I'm just connecting that to the IA system that will reduce the amount of fill.
The other, well, that wasn't part of my calculations as to overall fill. So, other than the fill required to bring the basement slab up and the fill required for the septic system, we're not adding any fill as far as what's required for the house.
Okay, I was wondering whether.
On the exterior,
Okay, okay.
sorry.
Can you explain the difference between the two coverage charts? You mentioned it, but I'm still kind of struggling with on the right side of this plan is the coastal dune buffer coverage, and on the left is the 0 to 50 and 50 to 100. And the figures are different in both of those, so I haven't been able to reconcile that.
I don't have an answer for you. Sorry.
It's okay, it's just that they must be referring to, so, for example, existing dwelling is 1315 square feet, that's not changing in the dune buffer. On the other side, existing dwelling is 459 in the NDZ and 848. I guess that's 13. I mean, maybe these add up, I never thought about adding them to see if they come to that. They do, they add up to?
I'm getting out my cheat.
I know, and then I compared it to the chart, and then I got completely.
Yeah, I'll have to, I,
Okay.
Yeah, it's 1307 on the left, and it was 1315.
15 on the right, yeah. But it changes, yeah, so I couldn't reconcile those, and with the coverage chart, which ends up at a total increase in coverage of 17 feet.
Yeah.
And you just said there's an overall decrease, so I had my little calculator out and I was unable to.
Yeah, the 17-foot increase is in the outer aura.
No, it's total.
so the charts, I'm just looking
Sure.
at the other chart that's
Yeah.
just off the screen.
Yeah,
So when you take the net increase and you subtract it from the other net decrease in the 0 to 50, you get 43 square feet net
and that's
decrease.
what you get,
And
32,
you get that
84, 41,
in the other
42, that
one.
is.
So as far as the,
So is that an overall
so
decrease?
we have 21 increase, 64 decrease, so a net reduction of 43.
Okay,
And then over there, I think those two numbers match as far as the net decrease.
all right, so overall 43
Yep.
decrease. All right, that's what I needed to get to.
We always struggle with the charts when a lot of the work is being done within a resource area.
Well, it's hard
your
because you've
check
got the
sheet-
whole thing, plus you've got a buffer zone to another thing. Oh, that reminds me. So there's only a dune, there's no bank on this project.
No.
There are parts of the land management plan that refer to the coastal bank.
Oh,
So they need to change those
yes.
references to dune.
I didn't
That
catch
threw me into another rabbit hole. Back, bank? Okay. That's it for me. Thank you, David.
Anybody else? Okay, I'll go.
So Lindsay's on, if you want to hear from her
Yes,
on the.
I was just going to say, hopefully we had somebody from Parterre.
Yep.
So Lindsay, if you'd like to go ahead.
Hi. Okay, so this plan, we are conducting some invasive species management over 12,460 square feet. The invasive species cover ranges, as it gets closer to the water, it's only about 5%. And in those areas, it's mostly invasive vines that we feel like we can cut and remove from the area without damaging the native plant community and therefore not needing any plant replacements in that area. As it gets closer to the top of the dune, the invasive species are a lot higher. Their percentage is much higher. So we have native plants going in. The palette that we used is essentially the bread and butter part is what's there already, what's doing really well, bayberry and beach plum. And then we've added a little bit of diversity just for some extra ecological diversity on the site.
Okay. I have a couple questions. I have 2 restoration planting plans that were submitted. One has the 2 trees that are coming out, which I would like to know, why is that one tree that's just near the limit of coastal dune coming out?
That tree's actually dead. So if you, if you look at it, it's completely brown. And the first time I walked the site was in the middle of the drought last summer, and I felt like it was a fire hazard.
Okay,
So
so it's the Japanese
Go ahead.
black pine?
It is.
Okay,
There are other black pines on that site that I have not suggested that we remove, but that one, because it's dead and brown, I am concerned about it from a fire perspective. So that one is proposed for removal. And the other one, we found out later, that 12-inch cedar that's right by the foundation is just not going to make,
right.
it's not going to make it after the work with the foundation. So the two planting plans, the updated plan has some eastern red cedars going back at a 2-to-1 ratio to compensate for the cedar that's near the foundation, and a 1-to-1 for the Japanese black pine.
Right. So in your notes, your plan notes on the one, well, they're both dated 12/18. Anyway, the one that doesn't have numbers in the plant key, you say in the notes, one dead Japanese black pine that poses a fire hazard near the house will be removed. I didn't think it was all that close to the house, but maybe you could just modify that to just say, because it's dead. I mean, I don't think it matters what kind of a hazard it is. And then that one, you show the 3 eastern red cedars where they're going in, but there are no numbers in the plant key. But in the other restoration planting plan, you don't show that the cedar is coming out near the foundation. You don't have an X over that. And the plant key has the numbers of everything, but doesn't list the trees and where they're going and the size. So somehow
So that's,
we need to have one plan that has it all.
okay, so the revised plan should say 124 with the revision date. That is the one with the eastern red cedars. It does not have the plant numbers. I am seeing that now. I will definitely make that update
Okay,
and put those numbers on there.
okay, good.
The earlier dated plan probably shouldn't have been submitted, in that Lindsay had provided us all the plans to file, and then we
Yeah.
noticed that the
Well,
big
that's
cedar
why I
was
was looking, going, each plan had a good portion of what we needed, but neither had everything. So that's why I just want to make sure we get everything on one plan. Also, is the shower permitted?
I think it's been there a long time.
Yeah,
And I mean,
just wanted to make sure. It's been there a long, it looks like it's been there a long time, but things weather well too and look old sooner than maybe. And then I don't believe, at least I didn't see it, did you have anything that talked about access, staging, that plan? I didn't find that aspect of,
access to the site?
for
or
all the work
There's only one way to come in, and that's off of Mill,
off Windmill.
Windmill. There is some room in the driveway, but because this isn't a demo rebuild, the
Okay.
contractor that's lifting the house will have control of the site first, and when they're done, the excavation contractor will come in and do the septic system. So I don't think there's gonna be a big conflict with stockpiling of materials and contractors. So everything can be done from the Windmill Lane side. I would imagine, since half the mitigation work can't go in till the septic system's in, that'll be one of the last things that get done out there.
Can you explain, I just kind of don't get this cantilevered deck in the back. It's so small.
It is, and we talked about that with the architect. They just don't want to open the doors and have a rail. They just have some sense that you're outside when you open the doors. So it's very small, and it's just, yeah.
And they don't want to just put something like right where you open the door and have the steps, and, I mean, it goes across the whole back of the house.
It does, and to have anything that's connected to the ground level was gonna require a tremendous amount of stairs, because the house is so high.
True.
So
Okay.
they took that into account, in having a deck on that side.
All right. It was so small. I was like,
Yeah.
boy, this is a lot of work for
It's like
little
a
benefit.
it's like a pacing deck. You can go
Yeah,
out there
it's
and
not
worry.
even attached to the other side, so it's like, it's not like they're trying to get to that part of the deck.
Perfect for a Pomeranian or something like that.
Yeah, a Chihuahua. Anybody else? Anything?
No, you hit all mine.
So the planting is going behind the septic?
Along the property line,
Yeah.
there's a,
Is that because, yeah, because normally it's something that I don't like to see, but then they wouldn't have any lawn space if they attach it to the other mitigation, I would assume.
yeah, well, since there's a reduction, technically, we don't need any
Yeah.
mitigation, but this is more restoration.
Yeah.
There are non-natives along that property line now, and it provides screening between the property to the north. So that's going to be replaced with natives, is the purpose of all that.
Is it at all possible to, I always ask this, to try to include milkweed into the planting plan? A cluster of milkweed? It's full sun, so. Is the designer still on, or?
Oh, Lindsay?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yes, I'm sure we could incorporate some milkweed into the plan.
Yeah, that would be great, thanks.
Anybody else? All right, well, you're before ZBA on the 27th. We need a new plan for the planting. I don't think there were a whole lot of other things except for the NHESP letter. So, and updating the management plan to say dune, not bank. They really aren't tremendously complicated. Lindsay, if you could get those to her sooner, well, you've got at least a month, we would be able to, I think, go to an order for April. Because I don't think we need to rehear this unless ZBA changes something.
And if Natural Heritage gets back to us and they want an additional information, we'll let you know,
Right,
so that,
and we could always continue it, but, not provide the order at that time, but I'm not hearing that there's anything major, so.
I think it's great that they're keeping the design of the house.
March, they're before
I think
ZBA.
that's pretty cool.
To April 2nd.
So,
To
April, our first meeting's April 2nd, second one's April 9th.
let's go to April 9th, because I don't think zoning board, I'm pretty comfortable that zoning board's gonna put the restriction, no outside work, given this neighborhood from middle of June to Labor Day, and
Oh, yeah.
by the time we get going, it's gonna be May 1, and there's not a lot of work that's gonna happen in 6 weeks, so,
So we could have an order ready for April 9th, as long as, Lindsay, you get things to us before then, and we have time to write it.
that's fine.
So,
I can definitely do that.
okay, so
Okay.
April 9th.
Got it. I move that we continue 16 Windmill Lane to April 9th, 2025 for an order of conditions.
Second?
Paul?
Aye.
Janet?
Aye.
Elise?
Aye.
Eric?
Aye.
Cheryl?
Aye.
And I say aye. So
We'll see
you're
you
all
April 9th.
set. Thank you. Okay. Ah. The laser.
wasn't gonna walk away with it.
Responsible for it.
All right. Next one. Paul.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Next on the agenda is a notice of intent, parcel H13 Captain Knowles Way is the address, Minglewood Homes is the applicant, map 11C, parcel H13, DEP number SE10 3722. The project is construction of a harbor access stairs over a coastal bank.
David Clark again, Clark Engineering on behalf of Minglewood Homes. As you know, this house is underway, and
I saw, it's very underway.
yeah. And so we had said that we would be back with a set of stairs. And so here we are. Proposal is for a set of stairs over Coastal Bank to access the beachfront on Oyster Pond River. This is scheduled for Zoning Board of Appeals in a couple of weeks. And so the stairs have been put in a location where the least amount of underbrush has to be removed, and also the least amount of tree work that needs to be done. We did look at other places along the bank. I know a lot of the commissioners have been out to the site. The bank is very well vegetated, or heavily vegetated, with the exception of this little area. So we felt this was the most appropriate place to put the stairs. The zoning bylaw allows stairs over a bank to be as close as 3 feet to a property line. We're at 4.7. That's the closest point. And that's about it. It's a pretty straightforward set of stairs. I know that the commission has been pushing for a 3-foot maximum width, and so that's what this one has been designed for. And we also included a kayak rack that would be attached to the stairs themselves rather than having a separate structure on the beach someplace.
Okay. I do have, before we begin, I have 2 abutter letters that I'll read. My husband and I would like to go on record as objecting to this applicant's request for a special permit that would allow him to build an elevated staircase dangerously close to an existing staircase in an area that has seen some serious erosion in recent years. Hopefully you will make the right decision and deny his request. Robert and Andrea Dodds, 82 Judges Way in Chatham. The second one is recently, 11/13/2020, completed project SE10 3440 with the goal to stabilize the eroded coastal bank by installing a 10-foot by 12-foot erosion control blanket under and around the existing stairs. There's quite a bit of erosion in this location, especially when increasingly heavy winter storms hit, and in particular when ice slabs float in the river. A prior project, SE 10-3222, CWP 19-040A, addressed the consequences of the 2018 winter storm and resulted in a new seasonal aluminum staircase from the existing platform to the coastal beach below, replacing the prior timber steps. The seasonal steps were strongly recommended by Engineering and Conservation. Objection. Having concluded this restoration project this month at considerable expense, we are concerned about the concentration of a new stairway structures, all a few yards apart, with probable future stairs in between the properties as well. There is an easement pathway to the coastal bank. Given the inevitable erosion progression, it is preferred that the suggested elevated stairway, landings, and kayak rack be seasonal and moved more to the east of the property. This would minimize the concentration of activity in one concentrated point, reducing erosion risk. If the main reason for the positioning of the stairs is an existing path, please be informed that there has never been any human activity there, other than deer making their way up the hill, resulting in modest deer trail. Everett and Joyce Witzig, I probably butchered that, 70 Judges Way in Chatham. So, having read that in, anyone want to start this discussion?
Yeah, I will.
Okay, thank you.
I guess the deer aren't that dumb after all, are they? So they're using the path of least resistance, and I looked at the site and I agree. That's the most logical place of least resistance to put it, unless destruction you'll do to the bank to build it. I mean, you're just putting posts in the ground. I mean, you're not gonna destabilize the bank. I mean, you know, it amazes me that other people have stairways, but then now they don't want this applicant to have one. I find it hard to believe that it's going to interfere with the stairway that's next to it myself. I personally don't have any issues with this project.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Go ahead, Elise.
I would like to see it be seasonal at the bottom. I think that would be something that would be consistent. Is that a difficult thing to do, Dave?
In a lot of cases, I would agree, but the times of year where you have coastal storms on the south side of the Cape or the summertime, hurricanes. In the wintertime, you have the northeasters, where you don't have any wave activity, and you might see a storm surge, but it's not nearly as significant as you would see in Pleasant Bay during that time. If a portion of this needs to be seasonal, it probably only has to be the last 2 or 3 feet in elevation.
Yeah.
And we might have to put another platform there, but elevation 4 is the extreme high water for the Stage Harbor complex. In a storm surge, you might get up to elevation 6, as witnessed by where that escarpment is right now. So, like I said, I don't think we need to be more than elevation 6, maybe elevation 8 with the removable portion. I did discuss that with Minglewood before the meeting, and if that's something the commission really wants, we'll accommodate them on that.
Okay, thank you for that.
Go ahead.
So if it does, so what caused the scarping then along the bank if it doesn't have winter?
Well, it's not wave action, it's a high tide that's just pulling material as the current is the tide's coming and going. But given this area, I think that escarpment is minimal considering how long this landform has been there. I mean, there's no.
I was just wondering whether it's connected in any way with that pre-existing pathway, because it's only limited to a few feet on either side of that pathway. I was trying to figure out what would have caused it in that location.
I don't think the pathway's been used all that much over the last, since Judge Brandeis's daughter owned the property 100 years ago. There is an old driveway there, so there was something there.
There was a house there,
Yeah, and so I think it's just the remnants of that, and there might be some folks in the neighborhood that take advantage of that. Before Minglewood purchased the property, there was evidence that people crossed this property just because the owners had to put up a gate because people would park there. Is it a well-worn path? No, but there's evidence of something there. That's.
Did you see any evidence of any erosion coming down, that water
No.
coming down that
No,
path?
I think it's longshore currents.
Okay, so it
during
just
the-
happens to be that, in that
Yeah.
location? Okay.
Unfortunately, yeah. And you look at the picture that the abutter sent, there's a nice sandy beach there. And so, and it's very stable the rest of the way to the east.
Yep. There is a nice sandy beach, but you, in the narrative, you say that you don't believe that that bank is a sediment source for that beach. I mean, something is. We don't have a project, so it
Yeah,
doesn't really matter,
well,
but,
not being a coastal engineer,
no, we're not doing that.
given that there's very little beach in the neighborhood, it's just in that little area where there is a little, as with everywhere up and down the river, there is a sandy area between the back of the Peytons and the toe of the slope. But
Yeah, okay. So given how small that little sandy beach area is there, I would have to agree with Elise about making that the bottom part of this thing seasonally removable to keep it off that beach. If we don't know when, you know, the tide is flowing enough to cause any kind of problem. So on that photograph on the right side, we have the stairway that we approved, I don't know, a year or two ago. That's and then there's a small, about 10 or 12 feet sliver of property in between the two properties, and then this one's only about you said 3 feet off the property line.
right.
Right. Okay, I get the point that they're saying that, you know, it feels like it's, in a large area, we're constricting all of these things into a small zone. And if that person wants stairs, then we're really gonna,
But if you look at the vegetative cover that's on the bank, the only bare spot is
it's right there.
where we're
I
putting
know,
the stairs.
it's torn between, I mean, like, you could actually see sort of a pathway.
You almost could walk
You
it.
can almost walk it, I decided against that.
I
but,
did too.
So, yeah, it's a hard balance, but there is a sense of this, that we feels like we're jamming a lot of
Yeah.
structure into a small.
And the neighbor chose their location because it's the lowest portion of the bank on their
There was
property,
pre-existing
too.
dug-in set of stairway there.
And so,
Yeah, okay.
Well, I'm sure whoever buys this property is gonna be for sale, right? I mean, if they're gonna have the money for that, I think they'll make sure that if there's any erosion, it'll be taken care of down the road. I'm sure they're gonna be good stewards and good neighbors, just like the abutter did a nice job and stabilized their little erosion problem they had there, even though the contractor left all the wooden stakes all over the beach. But other than that, it was a nice job, and I'm sure these people here, you gotta give people a chance, you know? You don't, I'm sure they're gonna do the right thing.
Yep. Okay. You mentioned some sapling trees have to be removed. Do you know? What are we talking about here in terms of, oh, there's Jen, I think she's gonna have
Jen's
the
on
answer.
for the mitigation, and she can,
Okay, yeah, the rest of my questions are about the mitigation anyway, so.
I just have one about the stairs, the composite decking. What is, I just want to make sure we define what the composite decking is.
so that's
Polypropylene.
the PVC decking.
Yeah, because we're not big on plastic. So, any chance it could be aluminum?
On another project a few months ago, I think I asked the question, it was about a deck, and I thought your only concern was when it's in the water.
Water.
Yeah.
This is on a
You're right.
bank.
But
So here's a hair splitter. Could the part that's
seasonal
removed,
part.
that's the seasonal part be
Aluminum.
aluminum? It's a
A
smaller.
lot
set.
easier
I'm
to
going to
handle.
suggest that, in that it'll be the lightest and,
Yeah.
and it will be more durable to being unbolted and rebolted in the spring, so.
Better buy it soon.
Yeah.
Yeah,
well, won't exist. Doge's going to get.
yeah, it's gonna get,
So, all right.
all right, hang on.
Now
just
we
make
can go,
sure.
Jen.
Hang
Go
on.
ahead.
Okay, Jen, yes. You're muted.
Wait, you're muted.
There we go.
Yep.
For the record, Jen Crawford, Crawford Land Management. In terms of, I just wanted to say, well, you know what, it doesn't matter. You guys have, we've gone through that already. It's fine. But yes, the bank is very well vegetated there, as well as that 50-foot buffer. Honestly, I was struggling as we were out there to find ways to improve it, but we did. There was really only a small area, around 800 square feet at the top of the coastal bank, partially maybe about 10, 15 feet down the bank, and then a little bit up into that buffer zone, where we did observe a very small concentration of shrub honeysuckle, some vine species. But I think that we would term an intervention like this in terms of mitigation as a early detection, rapid response. There's everything else on the bank, honestly, it looks great. There's no real active signs of erosion. I think what, from my observations, at least the description that David gave to you guys seems spot on. I was looking for more because we love doing fiber rolls, but there really isn't much. So in terms of the mitigation, we are proposing to simply carry out that early detection rapid response for that isolated area where we are starting to see some of those invasive species take hold. We would remove them and replant. We'd like to add to the already well-established maritime shrubland community that is growing on that coastal bank. We think that in this sheltered location, that clethra would actually do really well here. Along with the black chokeberry that we've proposed. In the upland buffer, we've only proposed understory shrubs for that small section on the top, but it's really because there's a very large black cherry tree there. And I think that trying to interplant shrubs under it is not going to be overall helpful. I think that reestablishing those native ground covers underneath it within its root zone will be much better suited for both the health of what we're planting as well as for the existing cherry tree. And that really concludes our portion of this project is just that piece of it. So.
Great, thank you. All right, Janet, you had questions.
Right, so had asked the question about, some tree removal is mentioned for the construction of the stairs. Do you have any details about, it says saplings, but how many or?
Unfortunately, I do not have that information at my fingertips at the moment. I do recall that there were 1 or 2 small oaks, I believe, on the right side as you're looking down the bank, but we can definitely get that information. I know that there was nothing significant because I reviewed the location that Dave had staked in the field, and it seemed very, I would have chosen the exact same path if they had asked me to do it. It was the path of least resistance, the least amount of any sort of vegetative disturbance. There's a few things in terms of ground cover that would be on that path, but it's all it makes logical sense when you're on site.
No, it definitely does. Just trying to understand the
We can get you a count.
vegetation removal, yeah.
Yeah.
To make sure that's
I
all
can get
being.
you some annotated photos that show the path down and then kind of point, so to speak, because some of the smaller stuff is not shown on the survey because it's
Right.
too small to really survey.
Yep.
But I think that would be the clearest way to provide
That would
that
be
information
helpful.
to you.
That would be very helpful.
Okay, perfect.
Okay. I was just thinking of something.
The spacing on the steps we were talking about.
Yeah, so that's
You're
David.
3/4?
1 inch, it has
No.
1 inch.
Oh,
He has 1 inch.
That-
how come so, yeah, I mean, that's great and everything, but
mean, it's
everybody
good for
argues
the-
about the width. Well, you trip on it,
plants
it's
underneath,
too wide,
that's what I
slippers get stuck in them, and you're wide at 1 inch.
It is a little wide. We were good with that, more light for the plants, but,
Well, we'll get a count on anything over an inch. That's got to come out.
oh, no, I'm
Oh,
talking
no,
about
we're
the
talking about
spacing on your.
spacing on the
Spacing
on the steps.
you're at 1 inch, which is a
Oh,
lot.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, we're
I don't have my hearing
sapling
aids
stairs,
today,
we're all over the place.
I left them at home. The spacing on the planks, okay.
You said it's an inch, and
An inch.
usually we ask 3/4 of an inch. We're very happy with an
And
inch,
another
but is
applicant-
it
another
too
applicant
wide?
It
wanted
causes a
1/4
problem
inch.
with getting building permits, then we should,
30 years ago, we used to tell the commission it can't be more than a half an inch because women would get their high heels stuck in it.
oh,
Exactly.
Yeah,
We've come a long way, right?
yeah.
Well, we don't want your high heels falling through. Or little chihuahuas.
Just check, if you just check that. If you want to reduce it to 3/4, I think we're good with
Yeah,
that.
I think it could be 3/4.
But Jen, I remembered now the question I wanted to ask you. So what is the plan for planting under the stairway? Is there anything going to go under there? Or just leave it as it
I
is,
think-
or?
I think the best thing that we can do, depending on how elevated it is with the substructure underneath it, I think the best thing that we could do there would be to put Pennsylvania sedge and Deschampsia. And if we can get a little bit of that established around the edges, I think that would be beneficial. So we can add a note to our plan for that.
Okay,
Okay,
all right, that's it, thank you.
okay. Cheryl, do you have anything? Okay, I had a feeling. Okay, Paul, anything? No. Okay. Go ahead.
Sorry, one last
I
note.
heard. Oh,
So, Jen, as I was down at the bottom looking at this, at the site, there, further down the beach area, there is a large tree that has fallen off the coastal bank and is blocking the beach path and is partly into the water. I don't know who, I can't tell whether it's on this property or not, but if somebody could just take a look at that and see whether it can be
Yeah, I'll let Tim.
removed, that would be great.
Yep.
Thank you.
okay, so we have a few things. You'll have to put in that you're putting the sedge under the stairs. We need sort of an idea of the trees, the saplings or small trees that are coming out. We've said that we'd like to see the bottom piece of stairway to be seasonal and aluminum. And you're going to check on the spacing of the steps. I don't have anything else down. So it's not a whole lot. You're before ZBA on the 13th of March. Maybe we could meet one more time after that and then go over it, and then I think would be pretty close to an order.
Okay,
So that would be March 26th,
okay.
if that works?
That works for me.
Okay.
Yep, absolutely.
All right.
So I move that we continue parcel H13 Captain Knowles Way to March 26, 2025.
Second.
Okay, Paul?
Aye.
Janet?
Aye.
Elise?
Aye.
Eric?
Aye.
Cheryl?
Aye.
And I say aye.
Thank you.
All right, so we'll see you on the 26th.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Paul, the next.
Okay, thank you. 76 Marshview Road, Mary Hope and Robert N. Hyphenston, map 8C, parcel S72, DEP number SE10 3721. Project is construction of an addition and a deck within the footprint of an existing deck, all construction within the buffer zone to a coastal bank.
David Clark, again, Clark Engineering, on behalf of the Helfensteins. We've been at this for 3 or 4 years. Oh,
When I raise my hand, he'll put it up on the screen.
oh,
You want the pointer again, or?
no, I'm good.
Sure?
Thank you. I'm positive.
Nice one.
Well, it's with strings attached.
Yeah.
So, after a couple of architects and a number of renditions, they've really scaled the project down to just what they barely need to make this a year-round home. So it's a small addition over the existing deck on the water side of the house, and they'll remove the entire deck, build the addition, and replace just a portion of what was there. So there's actually a decrease of 85 square feet in the no-disturb zone. It's a tough property to redevelop, given that the coastal bank is just a few feet away from the house. But it's a coastal bank that is 180 degrees away from the direction of flooding, so it's not really subject to any wave action, but again, it's a vertical buffer to flood waters, and given the minimal amount of construction that's required, we don't feel there'll be any disturbance to the bank. All the areas disturbed by construction equipment will be just loamed and seeded with a native fescue when they're done. This does have to go to Zoning Board of Appeals. I don't know if they have a date yet.
Just a minute. Shoot.
Oh, and,
No date yet,
yeah.
as of yesterday. Okay. Anybody? want to start? Questions, comments?
It wasn't staked.
No.
Yeah, we would have put paint marks on the deck, and we didn't.
Yeah,
do
because
that.
it's a decrease, it's all in the deck.
Yeah,
No. But,
in the existing deck, so,
yeah,
It made it hard. I noticed that, but I figured it was because the existing deck is where it's going.
yeah, but I was trying to, I was looking for the coastal bank.
we can have that done.
Yeah. I'm also curious about how far this is from the edge of the salt marsh. It looked like about 30 feet, 40 feet at most.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, and that got me thinking to why they're not planning, if they're doing this, not planning on removing the cesspool and upgrading that, there's just,
Probably money.
yeah, oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, at this point,
There is no plan to replace.
there's no plans to upgrade the septic system.
Okay.
They're hoping
it's
the
so
town
close.
will
Yeah, maybe the town will get there first.
get going.
Yeah, you never know,
Yeah.
maybe the town
Well,
will get there.
the select board did have a big meeting on the next phase, so on Monday or Tuesday, Monday. So hopefully, we'll see that at town meeting shortly, and,
It was gangbusters the first few years, and then it just
Yeah.
kind of tapered off to nothing.
Yeah, yeah. It's act for, don't stake the coastal bank for I won't be here next time, so I won't get there to see it. It's okay. I was just curious, because it's basically on the bank.
Right, it is.
Unless you're doing it for free for the applicant.
Yeah, don't spend money needlessly.
And there's gravel going under the new deck, I think you said?
yeah.
Okay. And what,
Because it's not gonna get any light back there, and there's not gonna be any way to grow anything under there, so.
Right.
Just finish it off with gravel.
and what is the deck being? I don't
It wasn't
recall.
specified on the plans.
That's why I don't recall it. Okay.
Shall I ask about the shower? Do you know if it's permitted? That's the theme of the day, Dave.
See, I didn't ask.
I didn't know we were in the permit department.
This-
We're not.
House is-
That's why we ask. Only because it's in the 50.
I don't
don't
know
know.
anything about the shower. It was there when we did our survey 3 years ago.
As I recall, we couldn't find anything. There were no permits that Crystal could find. So,
And how long has the house been there?
The house has been there probably since the 60s. That's how old
1961.
it
Well,
is.
you have
There's a good
decrease.
chance they've had a rinse station, as we like to call them now, for a really long time.
Yeah, well, you
well,
you
not
have a
since the
decrease anyway,
60s,
right?
probably.
But we have 85 square foot.
Well, the shower's probably not, is about, you know, so it's probably not gonna matter. Because they're, obviously, they're not the type that's gonna water, so, I mean, putting mitigation plants, I mean, yeah, it's a nice Cape Cod lawn, and, you know, I mean, I just can't see it.
I wouldn't change anything there.
No,
I
I
think they're
just,
the second generation owners of this property, so they've been there a while.
Yeah, I appreciate they're not really changing anything.
Yeah.
right.
It's
and they're
fine the way it
building
is,
where it's
yeah.
already got stuff, and I think actually it might be an improvement over what the deck that's right there now with, you know, getting some new stuff, so.
Okay.
So,
A little bit.
doesn't sound like anybody had anything. I was thinking back going, I don't have
Oh,
any.
wait, give us some time. We'll come up with something.
Yeah, well, you'll be gone.
Well, we all drove by that house across the street.
I
It's
know.
now so obvious that you look at this and you're like, oh, that's really nice.
See that house
Yes,
across the street, how
boy.
big that is. Wow,
Yeah,
Yeah,
wow.
every time we go to
always
one of these
surprised.
properties,
The eye of the
see
beholder.
something that we
That's a big-
visited previously, it's like, wow.
All we ever see is the footprint.
So I think we can go to an order. But the problem is you're not before
You have to go to ZBA.
ZBA yet.
Not filed, have they not? Is that what?
No, they haven't even filed.
Okay.
Which makes it harder.
Well,
I
we can-
think they're out to May.
Yeah, so we can, push this off to the first meeting in May would be, then we'd have a better idea where we're at.
That sounds perfect. So that would be May 7th.
Okay.
So we can have a motion.
Okay. Let me find my way back to the property. I move that we continue 76 Marshview Road to May 7th, 2025 for an order of conditions.
Second.
Paul?
Aye.
Janet?
Aye.
Elise?
Aye.
Eric?
Aye.
Cheryl?
Aye.
And I say aye.
Thank you.
So the next one, Paul, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Next on the agenda is 186 Strong Island Road. The applicants are David and Judith Dagno, and I butcher these names, map 13M, parcel 48, DEP number SE 103724. Construction of an 8 by 18-foot swimming pool and expansion of an existing patio, seasonal rollout boardwalk and seasonal access steps, installation of mitigation plantings and invasive plant management, and native plant restoration.
Hi, Teresa.
Hi, good afternoon again. Teresa Sprague with Blue Flax Design here on behalf of David and Judy Adoino, who are in the audience and attending here in person. As Paul just pointed out, this project is in regard to the construction of an 18 by 8 swimming pool with the expansion of an existing patio, which is currently under the deck, relocating an existing path, adding a removable seasonal boardwalk, and doing some invasive species management and mitigation planting. I think many of you are familiar with this project. I know the Doinos were before you, I think about a year ago, for a proposed redesign of the existing deck. That work is underway and has mostly been completed at this point. So we are here before you to add some additional work to that. Resource areas on the site include land subject to coastal storm flowage. We have a velocity zone elevation 13 and an AE zone elevation 11. The property is also within the Pleasant Bay ACEC. There is a coastal dune located on the site, and of course, all associated buffer zones to the coastal dune. The lot's developed with a single-family home, decks, Peastone Drive and parking area on the western side of the house. The majority of the property is covered with Cape Cod lawn and some sparse ornamental vegetation, and the top of coastal dune is densely vegetated with invasive species, about 70% invasive species cover. Other existing conditions on the site, as far as vegetation is concerned, there is invasive species include Asiatic bittersweet, shrub honeysuckle, as well as native species including Virginia rose, seaside goldenrod, and American beach grass. Other plants on site include eastern red cedar, which are in varying states of health, American holly, as well as some invasive Japanese black pine, some yew, as well as some rhododendrons, hydrangea, lavender, etc. As far as the plan for the swimming pool, we've submitted a plan showing the swimming pool area, the proposed swimming pool area. There is a minor redesign of the garage within the existing footprint that's located mostly outside of the 100-foot buffer zone. There's just a small portion of that that's located within the buffer zone. So the main focus of this is expanding the patio that's located under the existing deck out into an area that's currently lawn and garden beds. And then mitigating for that with invasive species management in the coastal dune, removal of some existing lawn, creating a smaller access area to the coastal beach, and planting out an area of lawn along the west side of the property as well as along the east side of the property. So the total change in coverage is 1,064 square feet. We've included a coverage calculations table on our plan. The proposed net change within the 0 to 50-foot buffer zone is related to the rollout boardwalk and the proposed existing step down to the beach on the western side of the property, the northwestern side of the property. The total change in area for the hardscape pool, et cetera, will be, the total net change is 963 square feet. So we have a 1,064 square foot increase overall within the 0 to 50 and the 50 to 100 foot buffer. With that, we're proposing mitigation, 3,396 square feet of mitigation, 2,448 square feet of invasive plant management in the currently vegetated area within the 50-foot buffer directly abutting the coastal dune, an additional 283 square foot area along the eastern side of the property, and mitigation area with the removal of existing lawn of 665 square feet on the northwestern corner of the property. One of the portions of this project is we are proposing the property owners currently have two access ways to the beach. There's a footpath that leads through the coastal dune on the eastern side of the property, and then there's an existing wide open area on the west side of the property. They have been doing beach nourishment that they've been doing in conjunction with the Conservation Commission and restoration of dune grass in the coastal dune. And that area on the western side of the property has been used to access for sand nourishment in the coastal dune area. We are proposing to plant out that area of pathway, which is very uneven on the eastern side, shift that eastern side access a little bit closer to the eastern property line, and we are proposing some rollout boardwalk in that area to provide an even surface. We also feel that this helps maintain access to one pathway, so there's no confusion about walking through the coastal dune, planting that area around that pathway densely. We are proposing to leave that western side pathway open for that sand nourishment access with a seasonal step to get down. It's quite steep when you're stepping down from that area. We are making it a lot smaller than it's currently existing on site by planting out that area of lawn and really narrowing that path, but that does allow access for a small walk behind skid steer to get down to provide dune nourishment in the case that that's necessary. We are proposing to remove one eastern red cedar, which was flagged at the field. It's directly at the northwest corner of the patio. It would be within the footprint of the patio expansion for the swimming pool. And we are proposing to plant 3 additional eastern red cedars as well as 2 serviceberry trees along the eastern property line and a cedar within on the northwest portion of the property. All total, we are planting with those trees, 414 shrubs, grasses, perennials, and wildflowers. All of the planting within the project area within the 100-foot buffer zone is to be native, even the areas that we're showing as garden beds. 276 square feet of garden beds located directly around the patio will be native plant species as well. Species that we're proposing to plant to restore that dune area include beach plum, black chokeberry, northern bush honeysuckle, fragrant sumac, bayberry, and Virginia rose, with some additional sweet fern and American cranberry bush located in some of the other areas throughout, as well as little blue stem, prairie dropseed, purple lovegrass, switchgrass, swamp milkweed, New England aster, wild blue indigo, and coreopsis. I think I have covered everything, so I'm happy to take questions at this point. If I've forgotten anything, I will elaborate on that through the question process. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Anybody want to start? Go ahead, Eric.
Yeah, what is the percentage of impervious on the 50 to the 100?
The total coverage of impervious surface in the 50 to 100.
Are you within 35%?
I'll have to calculate that.
That was one of the things I had down to ask for.
Okay.
We need to know what percentage of that outer aura is covered.
Okay.
It's very unusual that we would go, it has to be at 35%. Otherwise, we'd have riots at the doorstep from other applicants that had to do with
Yeah, we're
35%.
really-
Understood. Okay, I will get that coverage calculation for you. I did not do the percent coverage. We just did the existing and proposed,
Okay.
or the coverage calcs table.
The other question I had was, I guess, putting the other walkway over there, but, So so the other area is for beach nourishment. So you're not allowed to go through the town landing? I always see the equipment through town landing to do beach nourishment.
So I have not been part of the beach nourishment portion of this. The Doinos may be able to answer that, but my understanding from them is that they are accessing that area through the driveway across the lawn and coming out on that western side, and that's how they're doing the beach nourishment and the
For
day
little,
nourishment.
probably for little jobs. If it's a major disaster, that probably the town just does lets I guess, use.
Wouldn't you think they could go from the parking lot?
I would think you should be able to go through the parking lot.
It
Not
is
sure how
lower from
s-
their property.
I was
the
going to say,
parking lot.
yes, if you want to speak.
You
could
have to
just wanna-
stand up, sir.
I think it is quite steep coming down from the landing
You're right,
there.
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, it makes sense for small jobs.
I am David Doino, owner at 186 Strong Island. We've done beach nourishment twice since we've owned the property, and both times we've accessed the beach on the northwest corner, as Teresa was explaining. Two reasons. The town nourishes its landing from the parking lot with extended arm backhoe. They don't actually drive down. It's very steep, and they're just pouring sand off the end of the thing. And the other reason is the towns typically beat us to the punch. They're getting their nourishment done faster than we can. So I've been in contact with Ted both times we've done it, and we tried to coordinate, but those guys bring in like 10 or 12 dump trucks and just push it over the edge, and we have not wanted to disturb anything they do when we get a chance to do our own.
Right, makes
We've
sense.
been
So-
going off the lawn, and we have less of a drop.
So you're still leaving enough width to get a small skid steer that hauls half a quarter of a yard at a time back there?
Yeah,
if needed?
we've put plywood on the lawn
Right,
and
right.
brought a dump truck, and then a Bobcat moves it.
Got it. I'm past that now. That's excellent. Thank you. Now
But
this,
if you put two steps that you're proposing to put in,
Removable steps.
Correct.
Oh, okay.
They're meant to be removable. They are not meant to be permanent
true,
structures.
okay. So
Now-
that's how the machine would be.
It's currently a well-worn path, and the public uses it as well to get up to their cars in the parking lot, and so we're trying to control it a little bit.
I have two other things, and I'm done, and I'll pass it on.
Oh, good,
You-
Ted.
This rollout,
Yep.
does anybody else have this rollout along the beach?
I'm not sure along this beach. We have used it quite often. It's seasonal, it's rolled out, it's in 4-foot lengths. It's simply tacked to the ground, and then you take it at the end of the season, roll it up, store it in your basement or shed or whatever. So it's actually, it does provide a nice even surface for people to walk across. It really does direct foot traffic through the dune, and it's very easy to take in and take out seasonally.
I mean, the current path that's there is just beautiful. I mean, it's a nice little dune like the old days. I mean, you could fall down on your head and still be safe.
Yep.
I don't know, I'm a little, I don't know what the legalities are, or what
Is
about
it
these rolls
wheelchair
out.
accessible?
The eastern path, yes.
Does it make it wheelchair accessible to use those kind of mats?
I mean, it's not ADA compliant, but it does allow more stable for people who have accessibility issues to get over it. So you're not kind of sinking in the stand and teetering. It just provides a level, even surface to get over. And again, the idea of it is to be seasonal so that you can move it in and out as necessary.
So I've seen them two different ways. One is like a material that you roll.
Yes.
And then the other is sort of slatted.
This would be a slatted one.
Slatted
So the
wooden or
material,
composite?
yeah, the material Moby mats are used more in, like in town settings where you need a wider area, and that is ADA compliant.
We have it at Oyster Beach.
Yes.
Right.
So
They
I
have them
think that's
out on the
overkill
seashore,
for
too,
this.
and not-
Yeah, I think that's too much for this area. I don't think it's necessary. I think the seasonal slatted boardwalk
Wooden
that you can
slatted
roll
or
up-
composite?
Correct. It's
Wooden.
wooden slatted. The composite gets to be quite heavy. It makes it difficult to move.
Yeah, my only concern is if we start allowing this, then you're gonna start seeing them all the way down the beach. I mean, is it private property there? Is it, it's
It's
private?
posted private.
Yeah, it's-
Posted all the way to the edge of the water.
no, if it's private, it's
Yeah.
private.
It's staked.
The last question I had, now this proposed mitigation on the eastern side, is this mitigation?
It is mitigation.
Yeah, coming up the side like that, I've never I never liked that idea. I think really your mitigation, you don't have a pointer. Is it for rent?
Yeah, that's how we're making our money
Is
these
it-
days.
Oh, this is nice. It doesn't reach it.
And you,
I can, if I don't, oh, your dot was down here somewhere.
your dot is like at the ceiling.
Yeah,
It was there.
It's on the floor?
yes, yep.
There it is.
There you go. Just push that top button. If it doesn't, work out.
And then-
Oh, there you are, I see it.
Oh, okay, there it is. I think that this area here would be the logical area to put the rest of the mitigation in versus up there. I mean, it doesn't really,
trees.
it doesn't really provide anything up here, the side. It's almost like you're running out of area and you're looking for places to put it. But right here in this cubby hole would be more logical for that mitigation. In my opinion, I think.
We're actually at 3 times the mitigation that's required.
Oh, so you don't have to.
So we don't have to.
Oh,
no.
okay, if you don't.
Need to replace
Right.
trees, so.
We do, and
They
we're
have to have
also,
trees.
the trees also play a role in providing some additional screening on that side. You see there's a hedge, and it's shown very clearly along the western property line to block out the parking lot, to provide some screening from the parking lot. And we're planting additionally right to the top of the dune on that side. One of the reasons is to provide some additional screening, and the second, as Mr. Doino pointed out, is that people walk up their pathway and cut across their lawn to the parking lot because it is less steep. And so the idea is to just discourage that and make it clear that it's not open to the public to come in and walk across that.
Put a
top
toll booth
corner.
there, a little toll booth. Yeah, it's pretty hard for anything to grow in that area. I mean, the wind and the salt air.
It's
tough. That's-
intense wind, but the cedars do seem to be doing, I mean, the cedars that are existing out there are in, they're in varying states of health, but they're in reasonably good health. I think if we plant cedars at a smaller size, we'll be able to get some cedars established in that area. And certainly along the eastern property line, they'll be a little bit more protected because they're behind that dune area. I think we'll be able to successfully get the vegetation established in that area.
Oh, thank you. I'm done.
Quick question. I love that it's staked, except that it's staked all the way into the water. So today, so we've got it out on, across the beach as well, that there's stakes out there.
Oh,
Can we take down the stake? There's 2 stakes in the water. I assume that's from y'all, but I don't know.
Well, the Spruan Engineering is the engineering firm on this, and they did the staking. I did go out to view the stakes
It was
prior to.
impressive that it's like to the high tide line or stuff, but
I
I'm
will,
not sure it's
definitely, we
necessary.
can do that. I have to be honest, I did not walk out to the beach. I viewed the stakes for the swimming pool, I viewed the stakes at the top of the dune, I viewed the stakes for the 50-foot and 100-foot buffer lines, but I didn't go out onto the beach. I did not think that they would be staking the
They were
mean
very thorough.
high water.
And some
Okay.
of them are blown over. You guys are
Okay.
in a really windy spot today.
Okay.
And so some of the ones for the pool they're all in the right places. They're all just blown over. I'm sure.
Oh,
the ground
I'm
is
sure
frozen.
too, when they did the staking, the ground was frozen
Yeah.
solid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they have fallen over.
Yeah.
But maybe pull the ones out of the ocean.
Okay, we can absolutely do
Thank
that,
you.
yes.
Anybody? Go ahead, Janet.
So I have a couple of questions, but they all key off of the delineation of the floodplain. Mm-hmm. So Eric, can you pass do you have the pointer still?
The top button.
Okay.
Yeah, we're all excited now.
It's confusing to me, and maybe this is a question for the engineers.
It definitely would be a question for the
Okay, well, let's
engineers.
put it out there and maybe.
But and I will get that answer for you,
Okay.
yes.
So as I look at there it is, okay. As I look at these contours coming up the dune, up, and you get to the top of the dune, which is elevation 11.
Yep,
And then they start dropping down 9, 8.
yes.
Right here, you have the VE zone line, which is elevation 13.
Right.
And it doesn't make any sense, because these elevations are dropping as you come down to the property. So why the VE zone would be here is strange to me.
I will get an answer for you on that.
Okay. So that's part of the issue that I have. You're asking for benches and different structure pieces out in the VE zone. And to me, that's a hard no.
Seasonal, just meant to be a seasonal resting spot for
Yeah, but
someone
as
to
we've
sit.
just heard, we get storms in the summer too.
Yep,
So I just think
understood.
anything out there is, anything in the VE zone is generally
Okay,
not a good idea. But the rest of it is in the A zone. And that puts us with, once again, we have a lot of hardscape patio and impermeable pool in the A zone. And I just don't see how you can formulate an argument that says that you meet the performance standards for the floodplain when you are interfering, and we don't have the exact figure, but a substantial amount of that outer aura, and it's all in the A zone, is now going to be impermeable. So how you're not having an adverse effect on the ability of the land to absorb floodwater is beyond me.
so I think that we worked very carefully and for a long time on this, knowing that this is also going to ZBA for review on March 13th, to design this in a way that did not require additional fill that would then, that would cause an issue from both the conservation perspective and ZBA perspective. So it is true that we are proposing additional structure within the AE flood zone. I don't believe that there's any concern about velocity as far as deflecting wave energy, et cetera. So you're thinking about rising floodwater and how that's going to be absorbed.
Right, as long as you're, it's not entirely clear to me that there's no retaining walls other than what's existing there on the other side of the pool.
There is a
That would
low.
also have a diversionary effect on the.
Yeah, the existing retaining wall is there. There is a low, the pool will be elevated slightly above grade, so that there will be a retaining wall. I hate to call it just a retaining wall, but it's going to support the edge of the patio and the swimming pool. The idea, again, was to design this in a way that did not require fill. As you know, you come out of that, well, if you've been to the site, you come out of that existing patio. There's an artificial berm that's been built up that's currently like a garden bed.
Yes.
So that will go away. And then this pool would come out into what's currently that garden bed and lawn area. And it really does not extend much beyond that garden bed area. So I think as far as the ability to, it's a fairly small structure overall. I think that the ability of the surrounding area to absorb floodwater is not being shifted. There's no additional grading, there's no additional fill happening in this area. There's additional vegetation being planted. It's difficult because the performance standards for the flood zone, there's no mitigation option really,
You either meet it or you don't.
Correct, exactly, yes. But I don't believe that this is going to have any additional adverse impact on.
How do you get to that with all of the patio area that you're proposing?
I think the surrounding area is adequate and the vegetation is adequate to absorb floodwater. And I don't think it's going to displace floodwater and send it out into other areas.
Okay, well, we may agree to disagree.
Do you want to let Ted,
Can I?
Oh, yeah, Ted's here.
could you?
Are you here to
I'm
speak
glad
to
you
the
walked
nourishment
in.
issue?
Let me put it that way.
I was streaming, but I wasn't really paying attention, and I heard references to the town and nourishment, and that's kind of when I walked away.
Yeah.
So I don't know if there were questions.
Well, we were asking, part of it was, because they have a path for on their property, that they say it's to provide nourishment to the beach, which
So it's.
I'm not
They're
even
currently covered.
finding any orders recently for this property from us. So I'm confused about that, too.
Well, we've been nourishing at the Strong Island Landing for
Right.
many years.
But for this
Almost annually
property?
at times. Pardon me?
Does that include this property? Sort of?
Technically, our permit does have modest encroachment on either side, but not
Okay.
the entire length.
Right.
Prior to the current ownership, we worked with the previous owners a number of times of, doing nourishment at the same time that the town was doing
Right.
nourishment. And the current owners, likewise. I don't know the permit status for that component. I believe that they were, an ongoing condition from the previous owner, but I can't swear to that. But I
I've gone
believe
back-
the previous owner definitely did have some permits, and I believe we've chatted about it and have likewise. Right. Okay.
Oh, just
Yeah,
if
you
you
can't-
speak, you have to come up to the
You
microphone.
can't talk if you're,
Yeah.
sorry.
So,
So I think what the Doinos were saying was that the permit was renewed, and they've sort of inherited the permit with the previous owner, and they've continued to do the beach nourishment through that,
Right.
and that Crystal has that permit.
Crystal, any chance you know? I know you're not probably at your desk, but in case, maybe she is.
I can see how important that is, because
Oh,
when I was in the
I get it.
business landscape, I had customers that almost every year would have to replenish their bank, and some of them, we did it by wheelbarrow. So I can see how this could be important if it's a continuous problem where they're doing it every year or every other year.
oh, no, I get it. I just wanted,
Make sure it's permitted.
I'm not finding any permits
Right.
in all the things the minutes that I looked at. Crystal, are you by any chance there? Or Catherine?
Catherine's not here today.
Oh, she's not.
I'll speculate that it's an ongoing condition in the previous permit.
Okay.
Somebody
And
else?
I've done as far back as 2020, and I haven't found any orders for the property, so.
we've been doing it for
Yeah.
20 years,
So it's something when, Teresa, and I'm not finding, when you mentioned for the patios and things, I'm not even finding,
There is a recent order of conditions for the deck, and I think
Huh.
it's within a year.
I haven't found it.
So they have recently, and they also had ZBA permission for the deck and conservation. They filed a request for determination of applicability. They got a positive determination and filed a notice of intent.
Okay. I'll go back and look again. My spreadsheet's not as good as I had hoped, and I double-checked. We've looked at 3 different people's things, and we're not finding it, so I'll look again. I'll go through them all.
Teresa, can I take you back to the proposed patio edge?
Yes.
Is that just rewording for a retaining wall?
So it is going to have some retaining function. It's going to retain the patio. You look at the elevations, and I apologize because I just realized I need a magnifying glass to read the spot grades on this plan. And I will get a blown-up copy, but you can see that the patio is at elevation 11.5, and we're calling bottom of wall BOW, bottom of patio at 10. So it's
Okay.
about a foot and a
Foot and a
half.
half. Okay.
Yes. Yep. So it's about a foot and a half that this extends out. That will be above the existing grade, which is, yes.
Would you be opposed to calling it a foot and a half retaining wall instead of a patio edge?
No, I mean, I don't think it's, yeah, I
And
don't.
maybe giving the height
Height, yep.
would be very good on
Right.
the,
So, okay, yeah, we can do that. Normally, we just show bottom of wall and top, and then 11.5 and 10, so it's a foot and a half, but we can show that. Yep.
Thank you.
Just by eyeballing it, you're close on the 35%, just by all, but you
Yeah,
need,
I
but we
think
need.
so.
I'll get that
you
exact
need hard
calculation
figures.
for you, yes.
because you've got the house and lots of other things that are part of that 35%.
So there's the existing deck, which is shown, you can see the posts for the existing deck outlined, and that was the approved deck, and that was to replace a deck that they're just basically, it was sort of round, and they were just kind of squaring it off, basically, the existing deck. So I don't believe the square footage of the deck changed significantly. And then there's existing hardscape underneath the deck. So that's existing, and then this is in addition to that. There's an existing rinse station, there's an existing retaining wall. We're just kind of bringing all of that in together, into that area.
Where is the rinse station?
The rinse station is on the on the east side of the house.
Oh, is it next to the AC units?
Yes, correct.
Okay,
Yep,
and that was obviously permitted?
yes.
How about the existing shed?
I don't have any information about the existing shed. I believe it was there when the Doinos purchased the property, so it was existing when they purchased the property in 2021. Oh, okay. So we do have the beach nourishment permit that was initially issued to John Gregorian, who was the previous property owner. We can get copies of this and send that to you.
Do you have a date on that?
I don't, the initial public hearing was in 2001.
Oh.
So I
That's
think
why I haven't found it yet.
Okay,
It's
that's
not
why-
that
goes
far.
back
Thank you.
to Ted's note that it's been over 20
Yeah.
years. Yep. Oh, I'm sorry, so this email is from Crystal, who sent this to the Joinos. Okay.
Okay,
Just-
thank you.
So in all likelihood, it's an ongoing condition that will
Oh, I'm
run
sure.
with the
Yep.
property.
It's just, as soon as I heard beach nourishment, I thought,
We got another bang on the window, so don't talk unless you're talking.
No,
into the
I'm,
microphone.
they're relaying
We're getting in
information,
trouble
they're relaying
today.
information to me, and I'm sharing it with you through
yeah.
the microphone.
Okay, anything else, anybody? Go ahead, Janet.
If we're going to start putting together a list of things for the next one,
Mm-hmm.
the thing, I noticed that there's no discussion of performance standards.
In the
narrative?
land management plan?
I didn't see it, and,
So in our land management plan, we discussed the performance standards,
Let's
starting
see.
on page 11.
all right, hang on. If I'm looking in the wrong place.
Yeah, me too.
So we discussed the performance standards related to both the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act and the Chatham Wetlands Regulations, on pages 11
Right.
through,
Oh, okay, there it is.
Yep.
Okay.
through 15, but I can certainly put
No, that's
that
fine.
in more of a
No.
narrative.
No, as long as I know where to go,
Okay.
then that's fine.
Yep.
And
Of course, we
there was a inconsistency, I think, in the calculation of the coverage between the chart that was in the NOI and the mitigation plan.
Okay,
I'll just rattle off what I have written down.
okay,
The mitigation plan says an increase of 101 square feet in the NDZ. That's the rollout walkway, I'm assuming.
and the benches, correct.
And the benches. But the coverage chart says increase of 176 square feet.
Oh,
So don't know which one's right.
coverage calculations on my plan say 101.
I think I'm looking at the chart in the,
Oh, okay.
yeah, maybe sometimes they don't get
In the
updated when
checklist.
the chart,
Okay,
checklist
yes,
chart.
that may have not been updated. We've made multiple revisions to this plan and reduced what we were
Right,
initially
so it happens
proposing.
all the time. Then people
Okay.
don't think to go back and change their.
Yep, that's probably
their
what happened. I'll
chart.
change that, thank you.
The land management plan says total coverage, impermeable coverage of 1687. Yeah, and the chart says 1074.
Okay,
They're not
that's what happened,
consistent.
yep. Okay,
Okay,
I'll review that. The land management plan and the landscape mitigation restoration plan are correct.
yep,
I
okay,
think the checklist is off. Okay,
all right,
I will get
thank you.
that updated. Okay. And then, so I think what I heard was we need to get the percent coverage of the total impervious surface or structure within the buffer zone, as well as maybe a little bit more in-depth discussion of the performance standard for land subject to coastal storm flowage for the AE flood zone. So we'll get that, we'll do go a little deeper on the narrative on that.
Bearing in mind what we're talking about. So what is the material for the patio?
So the material itself hasn't been decided yet, and we've gone back and forth between this being permeable patio and then this being a mortared patio. We are showing a channel drain in the patio and a drainage leach pit for drawdown or for water to run off into the leach pit from the channel drains. We put that in there just in case we end up going with something that's more structurally sound around the swimming pool. This is an 8 by 18, so basically it meets the definition of plunge pool. It's kind of that in between. I know the Doinos are working with both, we've met out on site with plunge pool, soak pools that are prefab, and then they're looking at also having this maybe custom built. So we're not exactly sure on how it's going to be constructed, and I think that will make a difference on what's proposed. So right now, we are proposing it as impervious, meaning mortared patio with a channel drain that would run off into the leach pit that we're showing in the driveway, outside of, just inside of the 100-foot buffer.
Okay.
But I will try and have a better answer for you at the next
Thank-
hearing, knowing
Do
that
we
we're
need Ted
continuing.
anymore? I don't think so. Thank you for letting us
Thank you.
know.
Okay, that's it, thank you.
Okay.
Okay, so.
One more question.
Go
On
ahead.
that 35%, that doesn't include the gravel driveway, right? Because that's pervious, or is that included in the gravel driveway of the 35%?
There's a small portion of the gravel driveway in the buffer zone. Can you see where we show the leach pit?
Yeah, it's still coverage,
It's still
okay.
coverage. So we will count that portion of the driveway that's within the 100-foot buffer zone. Now, as far as coverage, I'm just going to calculate the coverage of the footprint. So we've got a deck, we've got a patio. I'm just going to do the entire footprint for that. Okay. Just wanted to double check. And then that will also include the existing shed.
Right.
Yep.
Well, is
We
the
need
shed
to
in the,
know.
is the shed in the,
The shed's just outside of the 50-foot buffer.
yeah, right?
Yep.
So usually what's provided is what's existing today and what it will be.
What's proposed, correct.
The proposal.
Yep, similar to the coverage calculations. just
Exactly.
Based on a percentage on square foot. And this
Right.
is the percentage of square foot only within the 100-foot buffer zone or within the entire aura?
No,
50
from
to
the-
100.
Yeah, 50 to 100.
Just in the outer aura.
Just in the outer aura? Okay.
Yeah, we know you only have the rollout and the benches for the.
Yep. I just didn't know if we were looking, when you're talking about percent coverage, what square footage we were looking at as far as the land coverage. So it's just within the outer aura?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's the only one that we have a limit on, 35%.
Okay.
All
And
right.
your ZBA on the 13th of March.
ZBA is on the 13th of March.
Do you want to come back the 26th?
The 26th would be great.
Okay.
So I move that we continue 186 Strong Island Road to March 26, 2025.
Oh, and one final thing, I'm sorry to interrupt.
right.
Is we are still waiting for NHESP to respond. We have filed with MISA, and so we need so hopefully we will have that by the 26th. My apologies, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Okay.
Okay, can you second?
Second.
Paul?
Aye.
Janet?
Aye.
Elise?
Aye.
Eric?
Aye.
Cheryl?
Aye.
And I say aye.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much.
I'd like to-
Thank you for coming.
I'd like to request a bathroom break if all possible.
Sure, we can take,
I can't believe it's
5
3
minutes.
o'clock.
yeah, we haven't done this in a while.
Yeah.
Hey, you guys are not muted. You're not
you can do the next.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair. Next on the agenda is the last notice of intent, 600 Fox Hill Road. Jonathan Seam is the applicant, map 12M, parcel 6-P4, DEP number SE 103720. This is a septic upgrade.
Excellent. Okay. I guess, Mike, are you representing?
I am. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Perfect. Yeah, so for the record, my name is Mike Pimentel, and I'm with JC Engineering. And this project does involve the upgrade of an existing failed septic system for an existing three-bedroom, single-family home. What we have for an existing system now is a septic tank to a leaching trench that's located approximately within 30 feet of the front of the house. So between the house and the property line sits the existing leaching system. Well, the resource areas for the property is a salt marsh, a coastal bank, and land subject to coastal storm flowage, Zone AE, elevation 12. The new septic system will comprise of keeping the existing tank and putting in a new leaching system that's going to comprise two 500-gallon chambers with stone. It's going to be located within the same vicinity as the existing leaching trench that's there now. What's there now for the existing septic system area is an existing lawn, walkway, and paved driveway. We're going to keep our system basically under the same surface conditions. We are proposing to put erosion control barriers along the north and south side of the work. The existing house will act as its own barrier to the salt marsh for the work. And there are now no grade changes for the property. So we're basically just replacing everything in kind and keeping everything in the same elevation. Really couldn't move the septic system any farther away from the resource areas, unfortunately, just because of the site constraints. What we do have is a setback of 40.4 feet from the coastal bank to the closest part of the leaching, the proposed leaching. And then we have about 79 feet of separation between the new leaching system to the salt marsh. So it's a septic upgrade. We're not increasing the flow. We're keeping the house as is, existing three-bedroom. We did go in front of the Board of Health to seek their approval. They have approved the project, and now we're simply in front of the commission to seek your approval. So with that, I would take any questions.
Some of it's within the 50, isn't it?
Correct, yep.
We need a
40.4
request
feet.
for a variance and an alternatives analysis for that.
It's just the box, right? T-box?
Yeah, it's the box. Usually we ask for it.
Your discretion, but I mean, it's underground.
Right,
It's a T-box. You gotta, I mean, there's no alternative.
right,
Yeah.
exactly. I mean, I would,
Kind of like form over substance this time, or substance over form, as I like to say.
it's not going to stop us issuing the order. I just
Yeah,
figured
no, it
for,
was a
for
good point.
paperwork,
Good
we ought to
question,
have
though.
it.
Good question, but I think, your discretion, but I think you could probably, they can send it in if they want.
We're going to have to grant you a variance anyway.
Yeah, all right.
So it just, if we could have a letter that requests that we grant the variance, it's not going to stop this process or hold anything up. It's just, I think it would be good to have, since we usually ask for it.
Let me ask you this. We did request a variance for the setback from the leaching to the coastal bank on our site plan. If you read the general note number 23, will that suffice?
No.
No, because
No.
we're requesting it from.
No,
we're requesting-
that's a note, so no.
Okay, so we'll just provide you with
It
a
can
left
be quick
request.
and simple. Just take whatever you've
Okay.
got in 21 and, yeah, or very, up 23. Yep. So just put that into a letter. That'd be great.
Sure, no problem.
Anybody have anything? I mean, you definitely are constrained. I don't see an issue, so I think we could go to an order. we only have one order for next week. So we could probably issue it March 5th if you want.
Sure, that's fine. What's
Okay.
the process in which to request, what's the process in which to request the order? Is it another meeting with you folks?
Well, we'll write the order before next week, and on Tuesday, the order will be sent to you for your review. And then Wednesday, if you have any comments about it, you can appear and comment. And if any of the commissioners want to change anything that's in the order from, that hasn't been changed previously, we would do that and we'd issue it. And then Crystal will let you know when the order's ready in the office.
Okay, is it optional for the engineer to attend the meeting, or is it mandatory?
No, it's optional, and if you had any requests for any changes, you could put them into an email.
Okay, great,
Okay? So then
great, thank you so much.
Ready for a motion?
we're ready for a motion for March 5th for an order.
I move that we continue 600 Fox Hill Road to March 5th, 2025 for an order of conditions.
Second.
Paul?
Aye.
Janet? Aye. Elise?
Aye.
Eric?
Aye.
Cheryl?
Aye.
And I say aye. So next week, we will have an order ready. Thank you.
Perfect, thank you, appreciate it, have a good day.
Okay, you too. Paul?
Okay, Madam Chair, thank you. I'll try to make these as brief as I can. There's, next on the agenda are two certificates of compliance. The first one is 40 Dune Drive. The applicants Richard and Cecilia M. B. Canning, map 16A, parcel 9-65, DEP number SE 103370. The project was removal of an existing dwelling foundation and replacement with a FEMA-compliant foundation, as well as a second-story addition and associated site improvements. Bond did a great job putting the COC request together. The application is complete. The order was issued in October 2019. I visited the property the day before yesterday and inspected the whole thing. I did look at the mitigation area in back of the house. Don't know if any of you guys did, but in the wintertime, it just doesn't look like the pictures that they send in when they do the monitoring reports. And Crawford did send in all the monitoring reports they needed to. So there was one plant that was broken. I sort of set it aside, but they did a pretty good job with this. And not to belabor it, I would just recommend approval with a full COC for this request.
Anybody have any comments?
Yeah, looks great.
Just thanks to the applicant for such a great, complete filing. It was everything I wanted to,
Yeah.
hoped was there, and more. I think there were doubles
Okay,
of some
we could
things.
have a motion.
So I move that we approve the certificate of compliance for 40 Dune Drive.
Second.
Paul?
Aye.
Janet? Aye. Elise?
Aye.
Eric?
Aye.
Cheryl?
Aye.
And I say aye. Okay, the next, Paul.
Second one is a certificate of compliance request for 211 Vineyard Avenue, applicant Teresa and Mark Plotkin, map 10D, parcel 10129, DEP number SE 103367. The project was invasive plant management, restoration planting, and vista pruning, and hardscape and in-kind improvements. Again, this is a very well-together put application, was done very well. There was an as-built plan required. I called Blue Flax, and basically, we ended up getting that sent to us the day before yesterday. It was just sort of the mitigation plan stamped with a current date on it. I don't know if you guys had a chance to go out. The plantings look terrific. There was a growing condition for 3 growing seasons, and the other special condition was a split rail fence, which was installed and does delineate the 50-foot buffer zone very well. The photographs were submitted, application is complete. I'd recommend a full COC for this one as well.
Anybody comments?
Yeah, I got a problem with this one. Nothing against the homeowner. I hate to sound like a broken record, but I don't understand who's responsible, because the applicant, obviously they pay a lot of money to the designer and engineers and everything, but so who's responsible to remove the all the piping that's above ground for the irrigation, the heads, the temporary box, valve box that's on the bank. And I mean, coming in the driveway on the left is a formal planting of bayberry and some other, that has the drip, that, I don't care about that, but in the back, I mean, shoot, I don't know whether we should put it in big, red, bold lettering on these order of conditions, but it's just all the time I see this, that they leave so let me educate me. When the contractor draws up the agreement with the applicant, are they charging the applicant to remove? I mean, is this in their contract to remove the temporary irrigation? I don't understand how this works, because a lot of them I go to, they don't remove it. It's supposed to be temporary.
Can we put something in the COC requiring them to remove it?
We won't
I'd
issue
like
it
to,
until
I'd like to
everything's out.
revisit the site.
When it's
I
been
just don't,
removed?
I don't know. I haven't seen anything that makes me feel good about this, that it's, because it's hardly ever done.
No, we definitely should. We can put that into the orders that,
Maybe
that
we
no
need-
COC will be issued until all the
Yeah,
temporary
I
things
mean,
have
it's just
been
common
removed.
Maybe we
sense.
need to
I'm
bold
sure that
stop
these
to that.
applicants, I mean, these homeowners are paying good money, and I bet you they're paying for this because it's in the orders, it's a contract. I was brought up in business, I follow contracts to the T, and then when I bill the customer, the contract has been complete. So obviously, someone is not finishing these contracts of removing this irrigation and what have you.
Commissioner Hilbert, I've got the order here in front of me. I can't go through the whole thing right now, but, sometimes there is no requirement to remove the mitigations,
When was this one issued?
This one was issued in,
2019.
I mean, if there's no requirement, then I got nothing to say.
yeah, and,
Yeah, we don't think about it, yeah.
yeah, and.
We need to add that then.
Let Paul talk.
I pointed this out
Right,
the
yes.
other day when we were reviewing these, and, I mean, on the flip side, these plants wouldn't look as good as they did without irrigation.
No, I agree with that, but
So
they're,
when you take the irrigation out, then you see them, you did this for a living, you see, that's a problem. I'll look through the orders.
I hear what you're saying, but when you're dealing with indigenous, once they're established, they're established. They can live on, because if you water too much, then they get dependent on the water, and then when you stop the watering, then they don't do well, but once they're established, I mean, the place looks great.
This plan actually says temporary irrigation will be required for the first 2 or 3 growing seasons while plants establish. Once plants are established, irrigation will be removed.
Okay. Is that on the
So,
plan or in the order? That
on their plan,
It's on the plan.
that blue
blue flax plan? Yeah, it's probably just standard stuff that they put in there.
I'm glad they do.
Okay, I mean, we could,
should put that in the
I
orders.
mean, would you be satisfied if we issued the COC with a condition that the irrigation be removed?
Was there a follow-up inspection on it?
Yeah, I can do that.
Okay.
I think so.
I would say, based on what you saw, how long would you think it would take to get it out?
I would say, I don't know if they sub it out, but probably an irrigation company. The pipes are above ground. I mean, we've got enough plastic in our systems. Probably 2 guys, 2 hours to remove everything,
Okay.
Like I said, as you come in the driveway on the left, that's a formal
saw it,
planting.
yeah.
Yeah, you don't change that. I mean, it's the restoration that's in the back. It shouldn't take long.
Okay,
No,
I don't have an issue with that. It's not,
We can approve it
no dog in the fight, just,
with the condition specified.
Are we ready?
yeah.
I think we are.
I move that we approve the certificate of compliance for 211 Vineyard Avenue with the condition that the temporary irrigation is removed on a timely basis.
Second.
Paul?
Aye.
Janet?
aye.
Elise?
Aye.
Eric?
Aye.
Cheryl?
Aye.
And I say aye. All right. Our next agenda item is an update on violations. We all talked about this yesterday, Paul, Catherine, Crystal, Elise, and I. They provided a spreadsheet of some of the things that they have been working on. And it's actually under the violations folder in Teams, so you can find it there. I can't remember what she called it, but you'll see it's posted by Catherine. So not too many. I don't think she's posted anything else. I think what we decided is, what we'd like to see is this happen once a month, because, you know, it takes time for any violation to progress. So I sort of asked if we could get an update on properties that they've been working on recently, you know, which properties have received certified letters or have been served, because if they don't accept the certified letters and they get returned to us after, I think, 2, Paul, is it?
2 times, yeah.
Then they're served. But when you're served, they just leave something in the doorway of the property, and then they're served.
The dep-
Exactly. So serving
Well, yeah,
isn't,
so sometimes the certified mail just doesn't get, they don't want to pick it up if they see where it's from. We don't know on that end.
exactly.
But we haven't communicated to them that there's an issue, so we have no response. We do that
And-
twice, and then we give it to the deputy sheriff, and he, for purposes of the law, once he leaves it at the doorstep at your house, you're served. So
Yeah.
I have a solution for this. I mean, Elise pointed out yesterday that Dennis had
Yes.
recorded some enforcement orders. Looks like they recorded one that was a sort of a serious one, and it was a result of somebody not responding to the commission's request to an action plan, which is laid out in a timeline sheet. We could, if we don't get a response from 314 Morris or 114 Port Anamicat, we can try to record these, you know, do an enforcement order, record it, put a timeline with it, and then for purposes of conveyance law, I would think that the lawyers that would be looking at this down the road would see this and say to the buyer, hey, you got to do something about this. That's one way to handle it. The other way is fines, but I mean, that's,
Instead of doing the fine thing, because it sounds to me like it's a hard chase, and the town makes money on permitting, isn't there any way that you can use carrot sticks and clubs, and with the carrots, try to get them to do a, after the fact on some of this stuff? You know, if they cut a few trees on a bank and do an after the fact, say, oh, you cut the trees down, forget about why, or, you know, when you get into that, the people get defensive, and they got a lot of money. So it'd say, well, now you know, you gotta file a notice of 10 or whatever after the fact, and
Okay.
we have to do a mid, you know,
all right, well, so the problem with that is sometimes, what happens is, it's happened. People will file a notice of intent, the commission will issue an order of conditions, and then they'll appeal it. And they'll just drag it out. So that's why we went to restoration orders. All the towns now do restoration orders.
Right.
So issue an enforcement order or a letter, cooperate with us, sometimes no enforcement order. Will you file a restoration order and fix this? Yes, we will. And they do.
So to piggyback on this, Paul yesterday afternoon reached out to, like, all the conservation agents on the Cape, asking how they manage this violations, enforcement, restoration, and,
serious violations, right?
well,
Not-
yeah.
Yeah.
And, I mean, most smaller violations, they answer.
Yeah.
They, you know, they don't want that. So, anyway, this is a preface to, Paul is going to go through some of the properties that they, not me, have been dealing with recently and where they stand. The problem is, these take a lot of time. So, and they have all the other work that they do for us. So, once a month, we thought it would be reasonable to give us a progress report on what's been dealt with, if anything's been successful. We also will have today a few properties that can be, I think we should officially close out and accept. One is a geranium. I don't think the second geranium, right?
770 geranium, Mr. Capuccio,
Yeah,
there was a certificate of compliance that was supposed to be filed, and, you
yeah.
know, I called him and said, you know, did you ever file it? I couldn't find it in the system. It may have been done. I seem to remember doing it. The other one, 65 Geranium's done, that could be closed out.
And 107,
107, well,
Taylor's.
107 Taylor's Pond, I'd like Crawford Land Management to give us the most recent update that they can
right.
to certify that everything's been done with some sort of a caveat on what they're going to do to maintain the mitigation that was put in. The gentleman who owns the house, Mr. Dunn, who called me this morning, I called him back, we left a message. So that will be closed out in the near future. That's ready to go. As far as I know, the mitigation's been done. We have Crawford sent in a current status plan on November 24th, I believe it was, last year, but just wanted something to update it and make sure it's been certified, and then we can sign off on it. And we haven't released any restoration orders, so how would you like to do that? Through a letter, or how do we go about that?
I think
Because this was your-
probably we should send a letter to them, I think we need to vote to approve
Okay.
the closing of it. And then I would say we'll send them a letter saying that we feel that they have met the restoration that had been proposed, and that this matter is considered closed.
Okay. Fair enough.
You know, something simple, but I think we should definitely send something and have something on record is sort of where I'm going with this. So having said that, Paul, if you want to just quickly.
Yeah, 107, we just talked about, 41 Frostfish Hill was a violation on the access road. The backyard was cleared, cut through conservation area for a pool installation. This has been closed out. The restoration plan was approved on 7/10/23. We just talked about 65 Geranium, that's ready to be closed out. 77, we just need the certificate of compliance for the one tree and the set of stairs that went down the coastal bank that were abandoned. All they are is concrete blocks. 10 Smith Road, that one, excuse me for one
It's
second.
on hold,
It's on hold,
yeah. Because
right. We reviewed images, we need to check out,
Catherine couldn't get down on, this was
couldn't get in there.
when they received this violation, there were too many trucks and things, and she could not get to the property at all to check it out. So it's on hold until all of that's done.
440 Cockle Cove is on hold, pending a site visit. We've got a couple of pictures. We need to wait till spring and summer when the homeowners put the ramp back out. That was a potential permit violation for seasonal stairs leading to the beach and the bulkhead. 314 Cockle Cove, a violation letter was sent out on 2/24/25, and we had a discussion with the homeowners prior to the COC hearing, and we mentioned at the hearing that we would be conducting a site visit on 2/19, so that is pending.
Process.
Yep, 98 Orleans Road, everyone knows about that one. I reached out again today to the owner to see where we stand with that. I'm not sure if he is ill or what is going on, but we were on the road to getting those plants put in by Phil Cheney. This was a violation for cutting in back of the house next to a BVW. And as far as I knew, the plants were gonna go in last year. They never went in, and so now we're coming up on another growing season where they have to be put in. We'll follow up with the owner, and we'll, violation letter was received, the one we sent on 1/3/25 to follow up again. 58 Chase was removal of vegetation within the buffer zone, planting non-native roses and putting down bark mulch. The violation letter was sent and received and was responded to on 12/6/24. 243 Kendrick Road, violation letter sent and received and responded to on 10/30/24, and 314 Morris Island Road, that's the one we have the sheriff problem with, and
Yeah.
114
It's
Port
been since
Navigate.
2021, or 2020,
And Port too.
Yeah.
I mean, 5 years these.
yeah.
5 years.
Yeah.
So that's an updated list. It's been a long afternoon, but we're,
No, it's good.
I asked Catherine to put these together and to send out, letters and correspond with people. And our approach, Eric, is always, first to try to get people to cooperate, as you say, and work with them rather than hit them with enforcement orders and fines. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I can't think of any others right off the top of my head, but if you want an updated version every month, then we'll update this, we'll post it for you, so you'll have it ahead of time, and then
Right.
we can answer questions that you have about them in terms of where the status is.
I think that would be good, is either updated or, I guess update it. and-
Maybe mentioning the addresses every month too on television might help.
Yeah, but if with,
I was asked not to do that today, so.
yeah. So, all right, thank you very much. So our next thing is minutes to approve. We're going to have to do them separately because I was not at January 22nd. So does anybody have any changes to the minutes on January 22nd? I didn't see anything.
Bob's not here.
No, he looked.
No,
He
did
didn't have anything.
Oh, they didn't have anything?
No, he sent me all his changes, and there weren't any. I put them in for him. Okay, then we can have a motion to approve.
Sorry. I move that we approve the minutes from January 22nd, 2025.
Second.
Paul?
Aye.
Janet?
Aye.
Elise?
Aye.
Eric?
Aye.
Cheryl?
Aye.
And I abstain. Okay, then we have February 5th. And any changes to these? Bob did not have any. Just saying, both. He said they were nice,
He gave you
nicely
an A
done.
plus.
I didn't do them. Crystal does them.
Kudos to Crystal.
Yeah, she does.
been aiming for that.
Yeah, Bob likes it, and he wasn't here to say it, so I should have said it. Okay, then we can have a motion, please.
I move that we approve the minutes from February 5th, 2025.
Second.
Okay, Paul?
Aye.
Janet?
Aye.
Elise?
Aye.
Eric?
Aye.
Cheryl?
Aye.
And I say aye. Okay, we need one more motion.
I move that we adjourn.
Second.
Paul?
Aye.
Janet?
Aye.
Elise?
Aye.
Eric?
Aye.
Cheryl?
Aye.
And I say aye.